I use this example because Jeff and I joke, if we needed a reservoir, right? If the dam broke, and it was 1910, every man, woman, and child that could carry a shovel went out and fixed the dam. And in Santa Clara, it failed like 7 times in 10 years.
I mean, this was what,
so like, why can't we just make a dang reservoir?
So yeah, there are so many levels of bureaucracy in Southern Utah.
I know. I try to boil it down to the small,
but really, like, it's funny. I talking to Zach, he has this flow chart that just kind of blows your mind with all of
Zach
the levels
Renstrom.
of.
He's funny too.
He is the absolute perfect person to be working on this. He's patient to a fault. Sometimes as a board, we're like, boom, boom, boom.
I need to get him on this podcast. I need to do it.
And talk about witty, but we are working through those steps. In fact, I did hear some word from Senator Romney's office that we're making progress. I was promised to keep some of that progress quiet for now, but we're making progress on the land exchanges and the funding. Okay. But this regional reuse system, that's a collaborative Dixie Spirit project, is the undertaking of our time. Right. Back in Santa Clara settling, in St. George and Washington, where we had the diversion dam up here and we built canals to flood irrigate and maintain life.
Yeah.
This regional reuse project, until Lake Powell Pipeline comes, is what will provide for life and livelihood in the desert as we conserve, as we initiate better ordinances to be better stewards of our landscaping with local scape or desert scape, and as we just rethink, how we're approaching water, and it's cool as we learn and grow. In fact, I wish I could remember his name right now. I'm embarrassed, but we have the conservation manager from the Southern Nevada Water District who's working in our district.
Oh yeah, and he helped design, or at least he was a part of the Vegas plan, right? And we're modeling it a lot based off of the Vegas plan.
He's originally from New Mexico, and I'm so embarrassed I can't remember.
That's okay. That's all right. That's not your fault.
But he is so talented, and he literally was the driving force behind their plan. And frankly, for less money, he came, rather than retire, he came up to Southern Utah. And I think it's just like a passion project for him.
He's already done it once. So it's like, and he did it in Vegas. Yeah. So if he did it there, he's like, I could do this.
And he's able to really cut through, what are legitimate water saving measures and approaches and what aren't.
Yeah.
And he's so well connected. I mean, the Colorado water user, group is complicated. And so he has some of those relationships and some of that institutional knowledge, but we're going to get there.
We need partners. It's got to be a coalition. And I interviewed Cox before he was elected as governor, and we talked mainly about water. That was all. It was like one of the earliest. If you go on the YouTube page and you watch it, it's just me, because the camera, for whatever reason, Zoom didn't record the version where he was talking, so it's just me like listening. But you could listen to this conversation he has about water, and I was honestly shocked how he's like, "Yeah, we don't really have any attorneys on it, and everybody else is all lawyered up, and we're kind of behind the 8 ball."
No, but it was right.
But that was because they felt so much confidence in that the agreement was clear that we could get the straw. We could get our little straw.
And it's naive.
It was naive. It was a little naive. It wasn't naive.
Doug is his name.
Doug.
I'm going to say Bennett. I'm going to be wrong. Doug.
I forget names all the time.
I'm the worst. But I'm on air here.
And it's right on the tip of your tongue. We'll just edit it in, and it'll just look like you said it. There you go. No, I'm just kidding.
There you go.
Doug, if you're out there, we love you. We appreciate the work you're doing and bringing it to us in little old Southern Utah. We need as much help as we can get, but I'm excited about the coalition that I've seen so far in asking the questions. I got in an argument with a guy on Facebook. I know you're not supposed to do that, but I can't help myself sometimes. So I took him.
It's the Scottish blood in you.
It's the Scottish blood. I mean, it's just whatever. It's the fire. Your last name's Napoleon syndrome was thrown around when I was a kid because I was little. I am little.
Yeah, I get you. I hear you.
And so, so he, freaking keyboard warrior. So I took him to lunch. I was like, let's go to lunch and talk about water, because he posted something because I was talking about Black Desert and how it's a cool project. I think it is awesome, right? And no matter what, he'll always write, but where are they going to get the water?
Yeah.
Right. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, he must be so smart compared to all of the other people for generations that have worked on. We've never had water in Southern Utah. Ivans didn't have water until the early 1900s. And then Hurricane, when they settled, legitimately has no water unless you pump the water to Hurricane. It doesn't get water. It's completely dry. And Nanette told me that. I was like, really? She's like, yeah, the entire water table is below and there's no wells. Like, it doesn't have any water. And I'm like, that's crazy, right? So like thinking of that was a history. And this guy on Facebook is like, but where are we going to get the water? You're like, you don't think we've thought about that? You don't think that there's like 500,000 people working on this problem? Maybe 500,000, but you know what I mean?
Well, and we've done so well in Southern Utah. One of the things that we've done that's so strategic and so smart is we've had the foresight to build Quell, to build Sand Hollow, to build Gunlock. These reservoirs are our savings accounts, right? And they're basically full with this great winter that we've had.
Right.
And then we take the watershed, and that's kind of our checking account. It's what we spend while we save down. Well, our savings sometimes spends down a little bit over those hot summer months, but for us to be able to add an additional 60,000 square foot acre feet reservoir of secondary water will be so huge to just kind of diversify. I mean, our local source is basically the Virgin River Basin.
Yeah.
But I want to pivot just a little bit and tell you something that's really cool that we're doing in Washington. And if you're on that board, go to that middle tab where it says Water Advanced Metering Infrastructure. This is something that we've been right on the front of, in addition to our landscape conservation ordinance that helps new development, new construction, build a local or desert scape in their yards, because so much of our water is unnecessarily being used for landscaping, and we need to preserve that for interior uses. But this has been fantastic. So these are basically smart meters. So rather than old school where the meter reader walks around and looks at, 5th of the month to 5th of the next month, how much water have you used, send it to the utility office, they send you a bill. This is real-time water usage based on your smart meter.
Yeah.
And so it basically is transmitted electronically through some towers within the city, and the data is in real time. So some of the things that this does is, and one thing that we didn't anticipate is, initially we could see that there were hundreds, if not 1,000 or more, just leaks in people's homes.
Yeah.
So my utility office can call and say, hey, it appears that you have a leak.
Yeah.
Would you mind getting that taken care of so that we're not just wasting away so much water? So,
or just warn you before your bill's going to show up. You're going to wonder why the bill's that way. And let me tell you ahead of time that it's probably because you got a leak somewhere.
But the frustrating thing with water is, on utilities, you have to charge what it costs, and the value of that water is not what we're charging for it now. So the little bit that they might pay in that leak is not as consequential as it is just the public awareness and say, hey, we do something about that leak. But I can pull out my phone, and this link here on our city website instructs people how to do it. But I can pull up this app that says my water usage, and I can pull up and I can find my usage by hour, by day, by month. I can kind of compare typical lot size with what others are using. And so what I start to do with this is I start to take ownership.
Yeah.
Because I see what my usage is. And I've been so impressed and surprised, not really surprised, but impressed positively, that when people start to recognize that water is a big deal, they morally want to do the right thing. Yeah. And this is a tool with modern technology that helps them do that.
It's true. Yeah. I would say too, the idea of conservation being the public doesn't care, that's crazy to me. I think everybody in Southern Utah cares, because they know if we don't get water, I have to move, and I don't want to move from here. Most people really like living here.
Natural resource stewardship in the desert, water, whatever.
It's
care. Not a left issue. It's not a right issue. It's just a human issue.
Yeah.
And so I've been so impressed. I mean, our cities and across the community, we've removed not what we call non-functional turf, grass that doesn't have a purpose. You look at what the Conservancy District is doing. We're offering $2 a square foot to remove and replace grass with natural desert scape.
Right.
And we have more applications than we can keep up with. So you can't tell me that this community doesn't see a problem and just morally want to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And I love that. It's not left or right. It's not a Republican, Democrat. It's hey, we love where we live. We want to do the right thing.
Well, and then also I would argue, because we have to defend ourselves against national media coming in and acting like they know exactly what they're talking about Southern Utah and what we believe. Jon Stewart, I was bugged. I was really bugged. I stopped watching it.
Yeah.
Well, not Jon Stewart.
The guy was at CNN.
last week tonight with John Oliver. John
Okay.
Oliver did the hit piece. It was a complete hit piece in Southern Utah. Has literally left out all valid opposing arguments and slanted that so horribly, and then it made us look like a bunch of jackasses. And that wasn't. I don't think that's a fair representation of Southern Utah.
Why? And why? Water flows to the money, and the money's in Nevada. It's in California, and so
California specifically,
we're an easy target. I mean, for crying out loud, to start back where we were talking about before in here, we don't even have a congressman in our district.
Yeah.
Well, right now, but we potentially don't. So we need someone who understands our issue, who can fight for us on, multiple fronts.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.